Welcome back to Us Against Everything with your host, Psychic Liz Mott, and my sexy, amazing husband, Landen.
What's up, everybody?
Today we will be recording Michael Jackson, might I add, for the second time. We quite literally recorded this yesterday. Landen's mic was not working. WTF.
Not a single second.
So we are recording it again. I welcome you all to our official Michael Jackson episode. Landen and I are very much on opposing teams here.
Ready, fight.
I believe that Michael did not do this, and Landen believes that he absolutely did. So we're going to be coming from two different components and see what we come up with today. Now we're going to start at the absolute very beginning and then work our way around all topics because there are a lot of topics here. Alrighty. Michael Jackson was born August 29th, 1958 in Gary, Indiana, which I didn't even realize it was Gary, Indiana. Did you realize that?
Yes, a very predominantly Southern, racist, bigoted area. They're very, very white over there.
In addition to them trying to come out at a time where black people were truly treated like bullshit, I mean, still do get treated like bullshit.
I mean, yeah, they were still in the middle of the civil rights movement at this time.
That it in alone itself was really difficult to do. So that must have been really hard for them to actually get out there into the world. But the family did end up becoming members of the Jackson 5.
Jackie Jackson.
I'm the oldest Jackson.
And Tito Jackson.
The swingin'est Jackson.
And Marlon Jackson.
The dancing'est Jackson.
And Michael Jackson.
The skinniest Jackson.
And Randy Jackson.
The cutest Jackson.
And Michael himself became famous as a child. Obviously, Michael stood out heavily in Jackson 5. He was always the kid that they always focused heavily on.
When I had you to myself, I don't want you around. Those pretty faces always make you stand out in the crowd.
And unfortunately for Michael, because he had to work at such a young age, he really didn't have a childhood. He largely spent his time performing, touring, rehearsing, no time for play. Michael publicly described Joe Jackson as physically and emotionally abusive. And I mean, I don't disagree with that. I get that vibe from Joe as well. He's just down to business.
Work, 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 work. To me, I be work, 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 work.
Fun comes later kind of energy.
I mean, you have to think about it back then. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of, we have to make it big. Let's try to do something. Michael was the star of the Jackson 5. Everybody loved him specifically. And he had a good voice and he just had that charisma about him when he was performing. I think that's what really pushed the Jackson 5.
I don't disagree with you whatsoever. Michael was a huge piece of that. And unfortunately, that pressure and stress on his shoulders did not bode well.
Not for somebody as young as him, like you said, took his whole childhood away. Once his dad saw that he was the moneymaker, he put even more pressure on Michael to perform and completely stripped him of his childhood because he was like, no, we're going to continue this on.
Do you think your father was too strict? Yes. No, he's going to kill me. He's going to get you still worried about that at your age. Well, he feels that he was strict. I'm glad he said it. Now I'll say it, yes.
I'm going to make millions off of you. You know what I feel like? He's almost like Selena's father.
I was going to say, actually, Selena definitely had the same father energy, was work, 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 work. She didn't get to that point of breaking, thankfully, but I mean, somebody killed her, right? So
That's what I was saying. We don't know how she would have been because she was killed by Yolanda.
I'm sure she would have burnt out at one point.
Right. I was going to say, which I think, if she would have lived as long as Michael and had that sort of stardom where she was actually able to start buying mansions and doing whatever she wanted to do, she maybe would be, an isolated person as an adult because the pressure of a child. Same thing with Michael. I feel like that is what ultimately led to his demise and ultimately led to all the events we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. Like the list here, him not having a childhood, him reverting back to being a child, criticized about his appearance from a young age. That is a significant piece as well, which we'll talk about. He was going through loneliness through his life. Even though he had his whole family there, nobody wants to hang out with your kid brother, Like, he also struggled with self-image, didn't know where he fit. Multiple cosmetic surgeries, vitiligo diagnosis, possible emotional developmental delays due to childhood trauma. I also believe that as well.
Now, some of these things I do not believe here. Like, I do not believe that he was diagnosed with vitiligo.
Why is that?
I just personally feel like, due to all the events of him being famous and at the time that he was, I feel like he, again, suffered from severe racism against him, with people calling him the N-word and telling him he's never going to amount to anything because he's black. And that's why he decided to start changing his skin and his appearance to look more white.
I don't agree with you on that one. I believe that Michael did have vitiligo. And I do agree with the fact that he was pushed heavily to look white. He changed his hair. He changed his nose several times. So I do believe that aspect of it, but I don't believe that he bleached his skin. 1993 sit down, Jackson denied rumors that he had been bleaching his skin and claimed that vitiligo was the reason for the lightning. It's something I cannot help, he explained. When people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me.
I mean, again, he has a lot of money, he has a lot of doctors, and he was forced to do a lot of things. Of course, he's going to say, no, I'm not bleaching my skin. The fastness from him going from completely black to completely white in only a couple of years was insane.
There's a claim that it started happening when he was 24 and in and around the time that things did change in his life, but I just don't feel that way. So we will agree to disagree on that one. Did Michael ever emotionally grow up? No, he absolutely did not. Was he chasing a childhood he never had? That part, he absolutely did. In addition to the fame, his father, like I keep hearing the words in his head, play later, have fun later, we'll get to do this later. And later never came for Michael. 1 minute he was a child, and then the next minute he was an adult. And there really wasn't that time.
My childhood was completely taken away from me. There was no Christmas, there was no birthdays. It was not a normal childhood. No normal pleasures of childhood. Those were exchanged for hard work, struggle, and pain.
I would agree to that. I would agree that he did not have a childhood, obviously, being a child star. And I also agree that he had what you would call that Peter Pan syndrome.
Yes.
Because he was stuck there. He was like you said, Dad said I could play later, and later never came.
The very early age of like 18, 19, 20, 21, maybe even 22, 23. I feel like at that point, Michael did fall into his adulthood, but then shortly after, I just feel like that's when things started to change and progress in a, reverting back to being a child energy.
So when you become famous like Michael and getting all that money, what are you going to do? You're going to fill your life with the things that you did not get. A lot of people want to heal what they call their inner child, and I feel like that's where Michael went and stayed there. I have all this money now. I didn't have any of these toys. I was poor growing up until I became famous and got all this money. and able to use the money. You know, his father was the one who decided what they were going to do with their money for the Jackson 5. But then when Michael broke off by himself and he became the one that was famous, it's now his money. Now it's up to him what he wants to do with it. So he's going to build Neverland. He's going to build a world where he can heal that part of himself.
Because Peter Pan, to me, represents something that's very special in my heart. You know, he represents youth, childhood, never growing up, magic, flying, everything I think that children and wonderment and magic, what it's all about. And to me, I just have never, ever grown out of loving that or thinking that is very special.
Do you identify with him?
Totally.
You don't want to grow up?
No, I am Peter Pan.
I don't disagree with you at all. And just for those of you who do not know, Peter Pan syndrome is called PPS. While it is not considered a recognized diagnosis, it is a popular psychological term used to describe an adult who has difficulty growing up. A magical boy who never grows old. Honestly, created by J.M. Barrie in 1902, so it's been around a while. And the other detail I want to point out is that a lot of people wonder if Peter Pan syndrome is a form of narcissism, and people do believe that this syndrome also has some sort of narcissistic tendencies, which I don't disagree with. I don't think it's intentionally done, of course, but I feel like that is accurate.
Absolutely, because it's not like a disability where the person physically just can't grow up.
Thus enters in Neverland. We got Peter Pan syndrome, and then now he purchases Neverland Ranch. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Because
it's like he was owning it.
Right. He just chose to stay there, and he was like, well, I got all this money and I want to be a kid. I'm going to buy Neverland and I'm going to make it a place where I never have to grow up and no one's going to stop me.
Michael Jackson specifically purchased Neverland in 1988, and he was the one who renamed it Neverland, the Fantasy Island, the boy who never ages. And apparently Jackson first visited the ranch when he visited Paul McCartney, who was staying there during their filming of Say, Say, Say music video in 1983. Jackson actually never left the Neverland Ranch until 2005. That was only shortly after his acquittal of the child sex abuse charges. He did, however, own it until his death in 2009. After the property had been depreciated for several years, American billionaire businessman Ronald Burkle, a friend of the Jackson family, purchased it in 2020 for $22 million, which is a steal now.
Like, good for you.
Now, in this particular Neverland Ranch, it included rides and a zoo, arcade, theaters. It was really built around childhood themes. Michael openly discussed love of children, invited children and families to Neverland, and admitted to children occasionally sleeping in his room. Now, he also thought and considered the sleepovers innocently and described sharing his bedroom as an act of kindness. I don't agree with you on that, Michael, sorry to say, but in my eyes, as a parent to a child, you could never convince me, I don't care who the hell you are, to have my child sleep in your bed with you.
Ever.
Yeah, no.
Ever. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care how much money you give me.
Sleeping is a form of vulnerability. Not to say that I believe Michael did anything, but I feel like children are very vulnerable when they're sleeping. Duh.
Everybody's vulnerable when you're sleeping. Nobody is quote unquote safe when you're sleeping, really.
He admitted to it, yes, but to me it's just completely inappropriate, and as an adult I would have said no a long time ago. In addition to that, I do want to point out that when I did channel Michael, from what he explained to me directly, was that when it came to him having these kids, it was like He wanted sleepovers with children for a very, very long time. And although he sees it inappropriate now, his mindset was it's not inappropriate. For me, I did ask the question of, okay, so you want these kids to sleep in your room privately. Why didn't we let the parents come in as well?
Obviously, you as an adult would think that, but because Michael has the Peter Pan syndrome where he refuses to grow up, think of yourself as a child. Did your friend's parents or your parents, when you did go to a sleepover, were they sleeping in the same room as you? No, they were not. It was the kids sleeping in whoever's room, all of them together. You and your friends would sleep in, your friend's room or outside in a tent or wherever you slept, but the parents were not involved.
Right.
And so Michael thought that he was still a child. In his mind, he kept himself in that child, like, I'm not an adult. Yes, I'm tall, but I'm not an adult.
That was Michael's mindset. I feel like that is so bloody wrong. That's the piece that
It's definitely bloody wrong. I mean, I think he did it. So I'm this evidence right here, even, sharing your bed is an act of kindness. No. If you had to, like, let's say, somebody, it was snowy outside and they crashed a car and there was like a family with children and you didn't have any other room in your home at all and you did not have any other bedrooms and you only had your own bedroom and then you decided to give the bedroom to the family and you slept on the couch, that is an act of kindness. But you making the parents sleep on the couch and then you and their children going in your bed and sleeping in your bed is pedophile-ish.
Yes, I would agree. Like, that is the biggest piece that, to me, that always just did not sit well with me. When I speak to Michael now, he does claim to me that he knows now that it was inappropriate and he wishes he could take it back, which, I mean, to me, that would have been beneficial. Then they really couldn't come at him for the things that they came to him for.
I feel like if he would have just admitted that he genuinely was stuck in this childlike mind and that he was very, very sorry, and then he actually made those efforts to grow up a little bit. And no one is saying that you have to be a stingy adult where you're just doing bullshit things that you really don't want to do. No one is saying that you couldn't have Neverland Ranch. No one is saying that you couldn't, have fun and do those things, but you still need to be your appropriate age and act your appropriate age. If you wanted kids to sleep over at your house, that's fine. Give them their own bedroom.
Right, exactly. Make it more of like a fun house where you're locked away elsewhere. You can hang out with them during the day. It doesn't need to happen 24/7.
Right, it doesn't need to happen in the night.
With that being said, although inappropriate and considered inappropriate, it technically was not a crime, but it really should be. Our children should not be sleeping in our beds after a certain age. I'm sorry, I just feel that way. To protect the child more than anything else. I get it. Kids are sick. They're going to climb into your bed when they're sick. They're not feeling well, fine. But this co-bed parenting thing is hella triggersome for me.
I agree. I personally don't think that no matter what age, your child should not be sleeping in your bed. I know people are going to come from me and be like, but I like my kids sleeping in my bed. I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong regardless if you're a parent, a sibling, or anything. It's not wrong. It's wrong.
In addition to it feeling wrong, and things can go wrong. Like, you can roll over your baby. Like, I know people are like, no, I would never do that. And you're right. Sometimes you won't. You understand, you feel, but it could happen.
Right. And it has happened many times before.
And also, parents, in order for us to cope and function on a day-to-day basis, we need that little break from our child. Even if it's just to go to bed at night.
Right. You need to decompress. If you have your child up your butt all the time, you're going to be stuck.
Burnt out.
Right. Burnt out. And people aren't going to realize, they don't realize they are stuck in that survival mode.
I guess from all the things I have watched and the true crime and the molestation and the raping, I'm just like, I would rather be safe than sorry. All right, now let's get into the allegations here. The first one specifically, Jordy Chandler allegations in 1993. Now, this particular case, this was a bought-off situation. Detailed allegations were made. Civil settlement reached. Settlement was worth millions.
$20 million.
No criminal conviction. Settlement did not equal admission of guilt. Criminal case was not completed, and family dynamics heavily debated. I'm going to play a reenactment of this particular housekeeper. It's the trial reenactment for Michael Jackson, and we're going to hear exactly what the maid allegedly heard and saw Michael and Jordy Chandler do.
I kind of looked down from the stairs up there a little, and I saw Mr. Jackson with Jordy, and they were changing their clothes. Like I figured they were at the water fort. And I looked down and I saw Mr. Jackson kissing on Jordy.
What part?
His cheek, and then his mouth, and his hand was on his crotch.
What was Jordy wearing at the time?
He had pants on.
How long did that last?
When I saw that, I was quiet. And I can't even say how long that lasted.
What did you do?
I was kind of shocked. Flushed, and I stood quiet where I was at.
You didn't say anything?
I didn't say nothing.
For you to go and leave that room where the loft is, you would have to walk down the stairs, would you not?
Yes.
Would you have had to walk past them?
Yes.
All right. What did you do?
I stayed up there very quietly. I didn't say anything. I stood very quietly, and I waited for them to leave the room.
And did they leave the room?
Yes.
During the course of that deposition, were you asked if you observed any behavior by Michael Jackson directed toward Jordy or anybody else that you thought was inappropriate or any form of sexual behavior?
Yes.
How did you answer that question?
I didn't tell the truth.
What did you say?
I said I didn't see anything.
All right. Why did you say that in this deposition?
Because when I had taken over the job for Mr. Jackson's room, Mr. Jackson had threatened me.
What did he say to you?
He had told me, you know, Adrian, if you ever say or you do something that I don't like, all I have to do is tell Bill Bray or Norma Stackos, and they will take care of you. But it wouldn't come from me.
Were you concerned about that statement?
I was very concerned with that.
I just got to go on record and say that I call bullshit. I don't believe that this woman saw lick dick shit. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't care if you're Michael Jackson. I don't care if you're not dump. I don't care if you're Mother Teresa herself. If I saw somebody touching a child, I would absolutely report it. Screw my job, screw everything else. But you didn't, because you are lying. Now, why settle if innocent, and why not fight publicly? Because from what I see, this specific case, I genuinely feel like the family was looking for money. I believe that the Illuminati, which we'll talk about a little later in this video, significantly heavily pushed this narrative. And I believe that this family was informed to go after him for money. And they did have some, not damning evidence, but evidence that Michael and him, it could have been looked at badly, basically.
Well, yeah, because when you watch any documentary, all the documentaries, Michael, again, another thing that stuck out, which to me as a parent, I would not be okay with, again, where Michael surrounded himself, specifically when he was out in public, with children. And he specifically, a lot of things you watch, he's very close to Jordy. He's very on top of him all the time. They're holding hands. He's getting close to him, kissing his cheek. Like, these are things that an outsider looking in is like, that is not a normal adult-child relationship.
It definitely, I don't disagree with you there at all. I'm really creeped out by men being in the vicinity of children. Because I'm so traumatized from all of the crime going on in the world, it's like no need for it.
That you don't know. It's not your kid. It's not your family at all. This is just a fan of yours.
And I do want to point out as well, I feel like Jordy Chandler's family and Michael got into a huge heated disagreement that led to bigger issues. And I genuinely believe that that was when they decided to file. I believe at that point, in addition to them being coaxed by the Illuminati side of things, I genuinely feel like they were like, no, we're used to a certain lifestyle now, and you're not going to stop paying us that money.
Absolutely. Obviously, the Illuminati got involved. And why settle if you're innocent? Well, I feel like he just didn't have a choice and he wanted this to go away. And Michael, being stuck in this Peter Pan mindset and being like, thinking like a kid and also being rich, well, you're just going to throw money at your problems like all rich people do.
Right.
Here, if I throw enough money at them, maybe they'll just leave me alone.
He already knew he was going to continue to keep making money. So it was like nothing.
Right. I mean, he had Thriller come out. He was like already making royalties off of a lot of his songs, including the ones he made with Jackson 5 before he broke off. So he, like you said, was always making money. And he was like, you know what? I got enough money. If I offer them this, they'll just leave me alone and go away.
Right. And I think that was very significant for him. And I think at that point, Michael took a little break from having children so close to him at that point. He was still doing other things for kids, but I mean,
having them in his home and getting that close. Absolutely. Now, the other thing is why not fight publicly? Because he did not want to bring more attention to the matter, because that would stop him from ultimately his goal, which is to be around kids. So he was like, I'm not going to fight this publicly. I'm going to pay them privately. Hopefully they leave me alone, and then I can continue on what I'm doing. And like you said, he was going to take a little break from having children, specifically coming to Neverland, sleeping in his bed.
Now, that brings us to the documentary with Brashear. Brashear actually told Michael that the documentary would portray Michael in a better light and help him clear up what he went through in 1993. And Michael fell for it.
There was one night I stood in there, I asked him if I could stay in his bedroom. And he let me stay in the bedroom. And I was like, Michael, you can sleep on the bed. And he was like, no, you sleep on the bed, sleep on the bed. We're like, no, you sleep on the bed. And then he finally said, okay, if you love me, you sleep on the bed. I was like, oh, man. And so I finally slept on the bed. But it was fun that night.
I slept on the floor. Was it a sleeping bag?
No, he packed the whole vest of blankets on the floor.
What? But Michael, you're a 44-year-old man now. What do you get out of this? What do you get out of this?
He's 4.
Yeah, I'm 4. I love. I think what they get from me, I get from them. I've said it many times. My greatest inspiration comes from kids. Every song I write, every dance I do, all the poetry I write, is all inspired from that level of innocence, that consciousness of purity.
Because he had done the same for Princess Diana, Michael loved Princess Diana. Like, they were two peas in a pod. So he trusted that this guy was going to come in and give him a better image. Exactly. But because Michael was so trusting in this situation, he gave Brashear some significant details that Brashear, according to him, did not feel was happening. But genuinely, I believe that this guy, Brashear, was also connected to the Illuminati, the UK side of it anyway. Diana's no longer with us as well, by the way, as we all know, but I believe that they were trying to get Diana too. And we'll talk about that another day.
I wrote a song called Dirty Diana, but I took it out of the show in honor of Her Royal Highness. And she took me away and she said, are you gonna do Dirty Diana? I said, no, I took it out of the show because of you. She goes, no, I want you to do it. Do it. Do the song.
Evidence pointed to criminal charges being filed, multiple witnesses being called, prosecutors believing evidence existed. I believe that Gavin had told the prosecutors that there was like pornography in a briefcase in the room. And then they found that briefcase with the pornography and pulled it out as evidence. They were looking for anything to really put him away. And they had a very sloppy case, which is why they didn't win this case. But we're going to talk about those details in a moment. But I do want to kind of go backwards here for a moment and explain my connection to the Michael Jackson era for me. So, like Landen, after watching Leaving Neverland, I was convinced that Michael was guilty because I felt Wade specifically just being somebody who was in fact molested. Now, with that being said, Michael for many years had zero interest in communicating with me. He would use excuses like, I'm not interested in this, I don't do this, which fits his personality. He only chooses people like that he feels comfortable and confident with. But then Landen and I started to do a lot of like reevaluation with Illuminati members, how people are treated, this, that, and the other. We've covered Illuminati quite a few times. If you're interested, we've got tons and tons of stuff, and we're going to have tons and tons more. But from what Michael explained to me was this. Back in the day, Michael was introduced to the Illuminati. They looked at Michael as a really good in because he had so many connections to many people. Royalty, fame, children that have diseases or trying to fix them, and giving kids food and fixing humanity and even helping the whales. Like, dude was all about being a humanitarian. He had access to many kids. And because those rumors were floating about that he was, having children in his bed, it was almost like the predators of the world were like, good, let's add this guy to our resume because he's a good in. Now, when Michael got involved with the Illuminati, which he did agree to do, again, another mistake he made, he was not guided at that point. He didn't realize that this was like a whole sex trafficking ring behind it. And Michael instantly refused their suggestions. Like, they were wanting to use Michael's connections to traffic children.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree that the Illuminati and these sick fucks were definitely trying. They were like, this is a way we can use him as a mule to get us all of the children.
Exactly. So for me, like, right away, he explained that piece of it to me. And when Michael rejected the Illuminati, because Michael felt like he had a lot of power, like, no, I can say no if I want to. And yes, he could, but there was going to be a lot of consequences for him with that, which is where I believe they helped with the Jordy situation, which is where I believe they brought Bashir into it, which is where I believe this Gavin situation took place. And I feel like all of those things were in place to ruin his reputation, to get him sent to jail. And it just never happened because they didn't have enough evidence.
I don't think that the Illuminati wanted to send him to jail.
I think they wanted to kill him.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it was either you comply or you die.
I feel like they were trying to ruin his reputation first. They always go that direction first.
Yes, absolutely. It's either you comply and you will be fine, or you will be sorry, you will suffer, you will die. Like, we will ruin your reputation. We will ruin your life. No one will know you. You'll be wiped off the face of the earth, and you will be looked at as the biggest scum on the planet. I definitely agree with that because we know the Illuminati's tactics. We know that.
Right. They're allegedly, we believe that they're part of like the Kurt Cobain, and there's many other celebrities that have lost their lives, even Diana herself.
Diana, Marilyn Monroe, like anybody who knows too much information and who will not play along with their sick games will become one of their sick games.
Absolutely. And specifically him, Michael, to this day, I genuinely feel like they were without a doubt in charge of that.
And I definitely believe that Gavin and his family were handpicked specifically to get Michael to do something illegal, inappropriate.
Yes.
Anything to entice him. He was planted. He was a planted spy.
I don't disagree with you. In addition to that, because this is how they do it, right? So Michael had a bunch of celebrity close friends, but not like too many. But then when all these things started to happen, he started getting more and more paranoid, especially why he left the Neverland Ranch, because the kids specifically, like you said, they knew what would get Michael, a sick kid.
Yep.
So
because it plays on his heartstrings. He wants to save them. Even if he couldn't do any of those things, he wants to give them the best final moments of their life that he can, because I'm not discrediting Michael that he wasn't a kind and giving person, but there's more things that can be true than one.
Right.
Just because he's a kind person doesn't mean he didn't have dirty thoughts of kids. Now, obviously, I know you don't believe that he touched them. I believe that he touched somebody. Was it any one of these ones that we're talking about today? Maybe, maybe not.
Well, I do believe that Michael was essayed by somebody in his family members. It could have been dad. It could have been multiple people. I feel like
He was probably passed around, to be completely honest. I mean, it starts somewhere. It could have been dad.
I also believe it happened in the industry too, which is not far-fetched. It happens all the time.
That's what I was saying. It's not far-fetched to believe that maybe somebody in his family, whether it was a dad, an uncle, somebody touched him, and then they decided to, quote unquote, pimp him out to people in the industry to further his career.
And then I also believe that he came out to his family at a very young adult age, being gay, and his family rejected it, specifically his dad. I think the other people in his family didn't care as much, but his dad was like, you are not going to pursue that image. Hell no. So he couldn't be his true, authentic self in any capacity. And he went through his entire life trying to appease his father. So I get why you feel like it's a possibility, but I also believe that there are a lot of people that have been molested that have not followed those urges. And for whatever reason, I just feel like Michael being one of them.
It can go both ways, right? It can be two different ways.
I don't disagree with you whatsoever on that. And I do want to point out another piece of the trial that I think is important to discuss. He was so, medicated at this point. Like, he didn't know if he was coming or going or anything. And I feel like the addiction to the medication also came from the Illuminati. But in addition to that, I feel like, it was withdrawal symptoms when that day that he came in his pajamas.
Yeah, I mean, he was so out of it, and also he wasn't expecting to have to go there. I definitely also agree. Like, we already know that not even just the Illuminati itself, which obviously they do, but being famous in general, that is what they do, is they get you hooked on drugs and booze. Not only, we've heard this from many celebrities in their interviews.
Yeah, to keep them going. To keep
them going.
Working.
Specifically, Demi Lovato a few years ago saying that, her first time in the recording studio, they offered her cocaine so that she can get a whole album done in one night. It's not unusual to hear that in the industry. Hey, take these drugs. And Michael found one that he really enjoyed, and he just kept taking it, and you get addicted. And I know from personal experience in a previous relationship, being hooked on pain pills, like Michael complained that his back hurt and stuff, which could very well be true in his legs, because he's always dancing, and he's been dancing and doing stuff and rehearsing, and I'm sure he's gotten injuries from doing new moves all the time, and just your body doing those motions constantly. Getting addicted to those pills does not take very much. You take them a few times, and then it hijacks your brain into believing that you need more and more and more.
I don't disagree with you at all on any of that whatsoever. I also do want to point out as well that the drug addiction side of things is hella stressful for sure. And I agree with you there too. You could see it in so many celebrities. Now, I have some questions for you specifically. Which allegation convinces you the most that Michael had been inappropriate and essayed a child?
I'm going to say a lot of them, they're all red flags. Like, how many times does somebody or multiple people need to say that so-and-so touched them before someone's going to believe it? You know what I mean? Like, we're in a world right now, specifically with the Epstein files floating around. All these women have come forward and said that Jeffrey and, other powerful people have did this to them. And we're sitting here saying we should believe the victims. But then when it comes to Michael Jackson, we're like, meh. Other thing is this bedroom that they were in, these children described it perfectly to a T. Why was this bedroom in another bedroom upstairs through a closet in a secret clubhouse, treehouse type thing, which again fits that narrative? What is one thing that I always wanted as a kid, or that I did as a kid, which was I made forts all the time. So I feel like that's kind of like what Michael Jackson did, is when he had this secret bedroom that was hidden all the way up in these stairs, he was like, I want a place where I can go and be alone, where no one will know what I'm doing here. And again, this bed was like great. It was a big bed. It had the, sparkly blankets and sheets. And it was just a whimsical thing of things you don't see in normal day life. But these kids describe this. The fact that Michael pushed these parents to the breaking point where they just finally said, yes, they can sleep in your bed. He never took no as an answer right away. All of these accusations. Then when we came to Wade in Leaving Neverland, when Michael gave him a ring. Now, Wade was not sick. Wade was just a super fan of Michael, and somehow Michael got word that this kid just wanted to meet him and all this other stuff, and then they had this little relationship, and then he got a ring, and then him saying that Michael basically was like, we're together now. You have my ring. I just can't ignore those things. There's so many red flags.
I have always been a believer that he didn't trust adults, and that was a big piece of why he didn't hang out with them. But
absolutely. Yeah, no, you don't trust adults, but also you don't put yourself around kids though either.
I mean, I wouldn't, in my opinion. I don't think in 2026 I would never. But anyways, let me talk about why I feel the way I do. So Michael was extremely unusual, especially when he got to his adult ages. Trauma shaped his behavior. He was emotionally frozen, so I don't feel like he emotionally understood what that entailed. Even when he took his son blanket and put him over, the balcony, I really was like, oh my God, Michael, what are you doing?
I think the whole world was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right, exactly. So for me, he didn't understand that this child could have absolutely fallen. He didn't understand any of that. He was just trying to show, oh, look at my beautiful baby. You can't see his face, but this is my baby. Like, look at him, how happy
Which
I
also
am.
was weird. Why are you going to show us your baby's legs, but not their face? Like, I don't get that at all.
Back in the day, that's what he would have to do to hide his children so that the children were not filmed. I wouldn't want predators filming my children either. But because no one else was doing that, it looked incredibly weird. So for the time it was. Nowadays, not so much.
Okay, but here's the thing. To show your child's face, then don't bring your fucking child outside. The kid has common sense.
The kid's got, for me, it's like if there's paparazzi around, dumb time to do it. Get them a backyard, enjoy their life.
And he was up on a balcony. He did not need to bring his children outside with all these reporters and fans and stuff outside. He could have just said, I'm not showing you my kids. Simply, I'm not doing it.
I don't disagree, but I also think
then
Michael
you bring them outside with a blanket over their head, and then you're hanging them over a balcony where you could have slipped. Something could have happened, and then the baby could have fell.
Listen, I'm not saying he had some poor judgment. He did not know how to adult correctly. So here he is, we're thinking about this. He's a father now to 3 children, and technically he's still a child with his 3 kids, right?
Right, choosing to be a child.
Right. Well, no, I don't think it's choosing. I think he was quite literally stuck there. Now, strange behavior doesn't automatically mean guilt. So can someone be emotionally stunted without criminal intent? Yes, I believe that to be the case with Michael. Did Michael live in a fantasy world? Hell to the yes. Like, he explained it to me in a way that his mind was like he was on like an acid trip 24/7. Like, elated by the sounds, the lights, the things, even the things that he had in his home. Quite literally an 8-year-old to 14-year-old boy, I'd say, just buying shit because he wanted to. I genuinely believe that he didn't have that sexual feeling towards kids. Now, when it comes to the setup and conspiracies, A lot of people think that he was targeted for money. Obviously, that is a big yes.
Obviously, I mean, I agree with that too. Now, I'm not saying that these parents of these children are innocent by any means, because they are not. You allowed your child to sleep with a grown-ass man.
Absolutely.
You're already a terrible parent right there.
You deserve in my opinion, the parents deserve no money for making that decision on their own.
Right, exactly. You could have said no. Now, if Michael would have grabbed your child,
yes,
and then held them
situation.
against their will and
Right.
was like, they're staying in my room or I'm going to kill you all. And then you decide, yeah, let them sleep there. You did that to save yourself.
Or if Michael was
and the
sneaking
kids.
those kids in the bedroom,
Right,
too,
or
but
Michael-
he was fully transparent.
Right. Or like if Michael was sneaking them in the room, going in their rooms in the night, or coaxing them in his room in the night again, and you've already said no, then no, that would be on Michael, but you willingly said yes.
I believe that he and Madonna and Diana all had these conversations in private. So I want to point out here, when it comes to Madonna specifically, she ran into an incident in 1998, the same time that Michael Jackson had his whole, he bought Neverland, where Sean Penn was, according to Madonna's filed assault charge. Sean scaled the walls surrounding their Malibu home and started a quarrel with Madonna in their bedroom. Madonna threatened to leave the house. Sean attempted to tie Madonna to a chair with a cord from a lamp, and she fled the bedroom. Sean chased Madonna into the living room and then tied her to a chair using twine. Sean then threatened to cut her hair off. The police report indicated Sean was drinking liquor straight from a bottle. And then the abuse went on for several hours. Now, Madonna was smacked several times while bound to the chair. Sean eventually untied Madonna, and she fled the house in her car and drove to the sheriff's office. Later on, in 2015, she decided to come forward and say that there was no domestic assault and battery against her, and that none of this happened. I genuinely believe that she would be dead today if she did not come out with that statement, because I believe Sean is hella connected to the Illuminati.
1,000,000%.
That was somebody Madonna had shared her details with. She saw what happened to Diana. She saw what happened to Michael, and she did not want the same fate in her life, but just had to put that out there.
And then again, as we all know, the Illuminati is bully. If she did not retract that statement, she would be next.
Do you know how much shit Madonna knows? Like, it's actually crazy. But anyway, we'll talk about Madonna one day as well on an episode, because there is a lot of stuff she's keeping from us. And I want to talk about it because I feel like it's needed. She's never going to share because she's trying to protect her family now. But, you know, anyways, my whole point is that obviously there's no, proof of these conspiracies connected to Michael, but let's take a look at his death real quick, because I think that's very important. So only mere days before Michael's death, he was supposed to have his This Is It tour. He was starting off with 10 concert dates, and then it ended up getting expanded to 50. And when that happened, it actually got sold out really quickly. Now, Michael was preparing for this. At that point, I believe that was when the Illuminati wanted to strike. Conrad Robert Murray was the personal doctor of Michael Jackson on the day of the singer's death in 2009. Now, according to Conrad, Michael had already taken a cocktail of other prescription sedatives that night. Murray administered a 25 milligram dose of milk. Now, according to the doctor's account, Jackson whispered, "Just make me sleep. Doesn't matter what time I get up." I don't believe that. Michael had a spark at that point. At that point, I keep seeing that Michael was trying his absolute hardest to prepare for his event. He had 50 concerts. That's a lot, especially in his 50s. He was trying to actually wean himself off the medication. In fact, I feel like he was performing heavily, and I don't feel like he said anything about wanting to go to sleep the next day, because he was in a very different mindset. This was the first time in forever that I believe that Michael felt like, I have something to live for.
Nobody's talking about the allegations. Everybody has forgotten about it. Everybody's back on the Michael train. Everybody was excited for this tour to come out. Everybody was like, we want to see what he's going to do. We want to see how he's going to be. Is he going to be the old Michael again, where he's going to be moonwalking, you know, upside down on the ceiling? Like, everybody was excited for this. So I agree. I do not feel like at this point in time, he was like, take me out.
Michael suddenly died on June 25th, 2009. We all remember where we were at. I was at my daughter's soccer game when this happened. And might I add, my kid loved Michael Jackson at that point. Now, the cause of death was ruled as acute propofol intoxication. His personal physician, aka Conrad Murray, was convicted of involuntary manslaughter, which in my opinion is bullshit.
Murder.
I believe that the Illuminati had someone really representing him. Hell, I even feel like the cops and everything's corrupt, honest to God.
So corrupt.
Now, Murray served prison time related to his death, and it was administered outside of a hospital setting, which is not allowed. And I think that's the only reason he ended up getting jail time. Serious medical errors occurred. Michael was struggling with severe insomnia as well, which, I mean, I feel like, yes, insomnia, but I also feel like the drugs were so inappropriate for what was going on with him. Now, why did this happen? I'm going to tell you something. So, as you all know, we have been referencing the Illuminati quite a bit when it comes to who has done Michael Jackson dirty. But there are names attached to that as well. And I've always been a believer, and so has Landen, that Epstein was part of the Illuminati.
Absolutely, 100% part of the Illuminati.
Now, let's talk about some connections between Michael and Epstein. Now, according to court documents, Michael Jackson was named in the Epstein files. But being named doesn't mean accused, FYI, so don't come for me. The Guardian specifically noted that Jackson's name appeared in the unsealed documents. Now, a witness, Johanna Soberg, said that she met Jackson at Epstein's Palm Beach house. But when asked if she massaged him, she said no, which tracks.
It doesn't seem like he's interested in that type of thing.
Right, exactly. A searchable Epstein file database says Jackson was listed in Epstein's black book with 3 phone numbers. And that also appeared in the files. He was in 0 flight logs, 0 emails. It shows the connection between the Illuminati, Epstein. Now, Landen made a really good point earlier, and that was that perhaps Michael was going there to see if he could buy a house. That's when we believe that things turned hairy. Epstein shared his perversion with Michael, and Michael was like, oh, fuck.
I think they also, like you were making a point too earlier, along with mine, that like the Illuminati sent Jeffrey to try to get him to join again. And I think that also happened, that like potentially they were like, maybe Jeffrey can offer something since he knows how to get everything. What is Michael's fancy? And Jeffrey will get it for him, and letting him know basically like, hey, we're all the same. And Michael was just like, hell no, I'm not getting involved in this. I already said no to the Illuminati. I'm not going in it again. Like, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. And he just was like, I got to get the hell out of here. Did not want any sort of connection to Jeffrey Epstein.
I also want to point out that Nod Dump and Michael also had a relationship. And what I'm thinking really is that he and Lisa Marie Presley spent time at Trump Tower related things. And I'm thinking that Lisa Marie Presley also had a connection to the Illuminati. I mean, I've always thought of it with her father, so it would make sense. Before Michael passed away, I feel as though something was coming. Like, they were already trying to find a way to take him out. They knew that drugs was probably the biggest piece, because they do that a lot to a lot of celebrities. Go the drug route because they know that they can do it that way. But I genuinely feel like something significant was about to go down, and Michael rejected them once again.
1000%.
I feel like he had the opportunity to make something major happen with them, and that's when it happened. Now, I feel like at that point the drugs were on a low key point, but everyone enabled him when it comes to the drug dependency as well for a while. But at this point, I just feel like it wasn't. And also, I think that there was some other key ingredients in the drugs, and also like a double dose to make damn sure that he died.
1000%. Absolutely. They definitely overdosed him to the point of killing him. 100%. I agree to that.
I've always felt that Michael was surrounded by too many people who had something to gain. And I know in his final days, I don't see peace. I see pressure and exhaustion, and I see somebody being pulled in multiple directions. And Michael knew stuff. Like, I genuinely feel that after this tour was over, I think Michael was going to share what he knew about the Illuminati, possibly in an interview setting, somebody he trusted. I feel like it would have been a woman, Hell, maybe even Oprah or something, but don't even get me started because Oprah got caught up in that shit.
Oprah is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't think Oprah was terrible back in the day. We didn't think anybody was terrible until obviously we started diving into the Illuminati and things that have surfaced over the years. But
I don't know why, but I think Tom Cruise is who got Oprah.
He's in the building! First of all, thanks for coming to my Legends Ball with Katie. Was that the best fun? Was that? Yes, yes! What has happened to you? Something happened to you. Something happened to you. I'm in love.
I also agree there was definitely... Michael might have even, didn't trust anybody, and maybe he was going to set up his own camera and make his own statement, make his own documentary on his own.
Yes, something was coming, and the Illuminati was very afraid of that happening. And thus the reason no one's ever outed them, because anytime somebody gets the opportunity to do so, they get cut off.
Well, as we heard last night, which ironically, one of Michael's last phone calls that have been leaked.
I had no control. We had no control. I wasn't like my brother. People, they're angry and they take it out on others. I was angry and I took it out on myself. And being brought up with guilt and stuff like that. When we were rehearsing 2300 where we used to live, it's like if I danced wrong, if I sang the wrong note, I get the hell beat out of me. I get thrown in the basement. So instead of taking that out on other people, I withdrew and I took it out on myself. There was nothing I could control in my life with my eating. They used to call me Big Nose and stuff. And instead of retaliating on them, I just did it with myself. Are you happy with me? Yeah. I'm happy with my face and stuff. Yeah. Because I don't want to.
Which brings us to our evidence that Michael definitely knew too much, and so did Princess Diana. As Michael disclosed in this phone call, basically not saying the Illuminati, but saying the Illuminati. All he said is the machine.
Right.
And they're too powerful. And he also disclosed how they drink the blood of the babies and how they will kill you. And that's that.
They do drink the blood of the babies, a.k.a. Jesus juice, a.k.a. what they told this child to say in his statement about Michael.
I was about to say, and then even when Gavin was on the stand, they even made him say Jesus juice.
Right, exactly. That's how I know that specific allegation was Illuminati based, because Jesus juice has been going around for a while and we've heard it first with the Michael Jackson case.
And that is why, I'm unsure with the Gavin, because something we didn't talk about previously a little earlier was also in Gavin's case, one of the reasons it got acquitted and Michael was clear of those charges was because his mother had did this in the past.
Absolutely. She did. And
she claimed a security guard at a retail store had sexually assaulted her in a parking lot a couple years before she met Michael Jackson and Gavin and Michael Jackson met. Leads us to believe, yes, the Illuminati definitely planted Gavin there because they were like, hey, this woman already claimed sexual assault. We'll tell her she'll get a lot of money if she says it again, but about Michael with her son.
Was Michael physically capable of completing this tour that he was supposed to go on? I think it would have been a tough one, but I think he would have done it. Did he want to go on tour? Yes. I feel that energy so hard. And was he being pushed beyond his limits? I think he was pushing himself. He was like, I need to get back on track. I need to do this one last time. I think he wanted to go out with a bang. And I think he knew his days were numbered.
I agree that doing 50 concerts in your 50s, that was a lot. I think he definitely wanted to stay at the 10, but maybe 20 would have been his max. But too many people, too much demand.
Absolutely.
And I also feel like Michael wanted to appease his fans, get his fans back on good graces with them and everything. And also he just wanted to prove to the world that he didn't do nothing.
I feel like he was even going to take some of the profits he made to help children around the world. So I think
either that or maybe he was going to take the proceeds and try to take down the Illuminati.
Oh, that was coming too. But I feel like he was just going to try to save and help the hunger of the world in all countries, not just, countries that are third world, even in the USA. Now, if Michael Jackson had ever become famous, would there have been allegations? Would there have been Neverland? Would there have been addiction issues? Would there have been conspiracy theories? And the answer is no, because it would never have happened, nor would it have existed.
We probably never even would have heard of it. And I mean, would he have been done something? We don't know, because he lived a different life. He was famous.
Exactly. But that is everything we have for today's episode. Really appreciate you guys being here. I know it's a little bit on the longer side, but this is one of those very important topics. So many details involved. Next week, we will be having another episode. We will be doing the Ouija board. We're going right back into conspiracies and talking about the spooky side of things. Cannot wait. We actually have a story from somebody, and Landen has a lot of Ouija board stories, and so do I. I have a couple too. So we're going to talk hella connected to the Ouija board. I cannot wait. And it is always
us against everything.